Good morning. Welcome to Sunday. John, nice to see you again. Tammy, welcome. Apologies to anybody watching on Facebook when I inadvertently cut off the feed and had to reboot it all over again. 25 years in Silicon Valley, I'm still a little bit of a Luddite from time to time. Anyway, happy to be here with you. Welcome to Sunday. Greetings to the folks on Zoom who I can see, and greetings to the folks on Facebook who I can't see, and anybody on YouTube who's watching it later. I'm hoping anybody I cut off on Facebook comes back. Powerless over things I cannot change. So today, we're going to continue our walk through the Eightfold Path, which I started a couple of weeks ago. And for those of you who might not be familiar, Buddha's first teaching, he laid out four essential truths, what have come to be known as the Four Noble Truths. And that is that life includes suffering. There's a cause to suffering, which is that we cling to things that are transient. Everything is impermanent, but we cling to them like they're going to be here forever. There's a way to be liberated from that. That's the third truth. And the fourth noble truth is the Eightfold Path, which is the path to that liberation from suffering. And the Eightfold Path consists of right understanding, or right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. And the last couple of weeks we have covered right understanding and right intention. So today we're going to be talking about right speech and what that looks like. So we're going to begin with the meditation. So I invite you to find a comfortable meditation posture. One in which you can be alert, but relaxed. If you're sitting, your spine is straight, not like rigid straight, but relaxed and like natural curve, and tucking your chin just a little bit, just like there's like a string right at the crown of your head, gently pulling you up. That straightens the top of your spine, tucks in your chin, without straining the muscles in your neck and shoulders. Now, today we're going to be focusing on right speech as truth, and that is being with our truth, and whatever truths may arise in meditation. So I invite you to gently close your eyes. Let's just start with a few slow, deep breaths. Breaths that are relaxed and comfortable. Only inhaling as far as is comfortable for you. And exhaling as far as is comfortable for you. And with a slow, longer exhale, just the right length, so that you can pause ever so slightly before the inhale. This brings to bring some intentionality to your breathing. And as you exhale, relax your body. Just relax into this moment. As if this moment and this body is a place you can deeply trust. Trusting yourself as you let go of this exhale, settling into what is true here for you as you exhale. Just relax and soften the body. Releasing whatever you're holding, whatever the holdings are in the different parts of your body. Releasing whatever tension you notice in your face or shoulders or belly. Letting your breathing return to normal. And continuing on the out-breath to just relax and soften. And if you can, not doing much, and if you can, just sitting here looking around within and recognizing right now what is true for you, what is true about your body. What's really going on in the present moment with your emotions and your mood. Just noticing what's preoccupying your mind and thoughts, if anything. Just noticing what is really happening with you here and now. Just being with that like as a doorway to release. A release that allows you to settle into a more deep, without reacting or fixing or pulling back or getting caught up in your thoughts about it, just being with what is. Without conflict. without any shoulds or shouldn'ts about what you think you or maybe should be experiencing right now. Just in the present. Trusting the truth of this moment and what's happening now. And then becoming attuned in the middle of it to your body breathing in whatever way is most comfortable. Whatever way is most comfortable to your body to experience the rhythm of breathing in and breathing out. Maybe as if breathing is what keeps you close to what's happening in the present moment, without looking away, without pulling away. As if breathing is at the center of what's most true for you. As if breathing is a caring, compassionate kind of contact with what's true. Nothing is a problem. It's just something to recognize and meet it with kindness. Care, quiet, trusting. Being with what's true is enough. Here, now. Just breathing in the midst of it all. If your mind wanders off, when your mind wanders off, it's just something to notice the truth of the moment of that happening. And just return to your breathing. with a quiet mind, however calm or quiet it might or might not be, that you can allow to be for these few moments what is most true for you, what is really going on for you in the depths of your being, what is most important for you. What relationship is there between recognizing what's going on with you in the present moment and allowing a simplicity of being in relationship with that? Not needing to do anything, not needing to fix anything, just simple knowing this is how it is. And maybe as we come to the end of this sitting, maybe there's some valuable way in which you're being truthful, being yourself, can be the basis of a richer, more honest connection with people. To be present, to witness, to be with others, whether in person, over Zoom, on the phone, or otherwise. To recognize and witness. May it be that as we come out of this meditation, that we have the presence of mind and heart to recognize the full humanity of others and to wish them well and to care for their well-being. And may it be that the benefits of this practice enable us to move around through the world with kindness and compassion. May all sentient beings be happy. May all sentient beings be well. May all sentient beings be safe. May all sentient beings be at ease and at peace. Thank you for your practice. So, as I said, we are continuing our stroll, I guess, through the Eightfold Path. And today we're talking about right speech. The idea of right speech shows up in various places in the Dharma, so it's an important concept. And it shows up in the 5 precepts, which are 5 precepts for ethical living. And that is, and other than, in addition to right speech, it includes protecting life and not killing, taking only what is freely given and not stealing, using our sexual energy in ways that do not harm oneself or others, and refraining from the use of intoxicants to the point that they cloud the mind. It's a neat little package. And right speech in the context today is about honesty and kindness. And when the Buddha enumerated right speech, he talked about truth, kindness, not gossiping, not using our words for harm, not being harsh. And when we talk about right, right speech, right understanding, the word right in the Eightfold Path, it is not a moral judgment to be contrasted with like being bad or wrong. But it means leading to happiness for oneself and others. It's a right path for that. The Eightfold Path is a path to liberation, which is described as happiness, inner peace, and freedom, and suffering. Freedom from suffering in this lifetime. So the first two parts of the Eightfold Path, right understanding and right intention, are about the point of view that we need to engage these practices. And if the aim of meditation is to live a calmer, more centered existence, right speech supports that. It's the opposite of speaking in a way that promotes disharmony. But more important, it relieves us of the inner tension that comes with unkindness and discompassion. And right speech is the first action step in the Eightfold Path. The first two, right view and right intention, are about what we need to approach this path. This one is where we start talking about how we're going to be in the world. And right speech is a mindfulness practice. It's mindfulness in action, because many people, including me, including you, a lot of us are not that mindful of what we're saying when we're saying it. We're on autopilot in conversations. We're not pausing and choosing our words. That's all good. It's all okay. But right speech, as I said, is mindfulness in action. It requires a certain kind or a certain amount of self-awareness to be present in the moment with the words we choose and how we deliver them. Right speech, honesty, is practicing mindfulness out loud. When we speak honestly to ourselves and others, we are practicing mindfulness. So for today, I'm going to be focusing mostly on how we speak to ourselves, because so much of the way we present ourselves and how we see the world begins there. So in this sense, right speech is a self-compassion practice. People who come to these talks on a regular basis know I'm always talking about self-compassion. I think everything revolves around that. It's the ability to say as honestly as we can, to recognize as honestly as we can, what is happening here and now with us. There are times when we have to meditate with difficult truths about ourselves, to be honest with ourselves, the things that are going on in our lives, how we feel about it, what we think about it. Speaking the truth, if we can do it kindly, speaking our truth to ourselves with kindness and gentleness. And if we can do it in a way that focuses on how to be honest in a beneficial way. For example, I had to admit and recognize that I'm an addict. Now, I first started learning about meditation when I was probably 18 or 19 or so. And I didn't get clean and sober until into my 30s. And I was practicing off and on, but at some point I had to deal with the awakening that I was not okay. And one of the effects of mindfulness meditation is it can help you part the curtains on whatever you're in denial about. I don't have a problem with denial. Everybody has some degree of it going on, and some people couldn't breathe in and out all day without it. But at a certain point it starts to harm us. So I had to look at the hard truth that I'm addicted, and to be with what that feels like. And in meditation practice, I learned to practice being okay with what is true and difficult and still being okay. I worked as a newspaper reporter for many years and had to, at some point, recognize that that was seriously not working for me. It's a very heady thing to do, and there's a lot of ego stroking, but the truth of what it was doing to my self-concept in my life was not working for me. And in meditation, I had to sit with that, and it helped me sit with that. And looking through the lens of Alcoholics Anonymous in the 12 steps, we get to the 6th step, where it says we become entirely ready to have God, or the great whatever, as a friend of mine calls it, remove these defects of character. I'm not crazy about that language. But to me, that means looking right at what is true about me and the way I do my life that doesn't work anymore. And from a framework of right speech, it means being able to speak with kindness and compassion with myself about what is true for me. Because I can't change anything if I haven't embraced it first. So if you can think of meditation as an opportunity to sit down and recognize kindly, I keep saying that word over and over again, kindly, and beneficially, what is really happening with us, what's really happening for us, and to recognize what is true and not be in conflict with it. So take our seat in meditation, in a way replicating the Buddha taking his seat under the Bodhi tree, to sit with the truth, to recognize the truth with dignity and compassion. And in the moment before his awakening, Buddha looked right at the truth of all of his self-doubt, all of his unconfidence, all of everything that he thought was not okay about him. He looked right at it. Mara, the god of illusion, presented it to him to try to stop the awakening. So that was him in a moment of right speech with himself, looking right at it and saying, I can breathe into this, I'm okay. And then he was awakened, like right in that moment, when he came out through the other side of that tunnel. And we can look at the truths of our being and speak them to ourselves, free of criticism, free of shame. It just is what it is. Again, it's a self-compassion practice. Coming home to the simplicity of being. Allowing ourselves to be liberated from all the self-criticism that we habituate in the culture. I did a talk some time ago about relating to our inner critic. We all tend to have one. So what I'm talking about is how we talk to that. I said to a teacher one time, I want to take that part of me out and shoot it. And he said, why don't you take that part of you out and love it? To relate to that part of us, not as an adult who is scolding us, but as a child who is crying and needs us to speak right speech, which is gentle and true and loving and compassionate. So I couldn't talk about right speech without also talking about how we live in the external world, and karma. And when I talk about karma, I'm not talking about like issues of rebirth and all that, because that's a whole other topic that I can spend hours on. What I mean by karma is what we do now informs what comes next. It's not any more complicated than that. If I walk up to you on the street and I hug you, something comes next, something really cool. If I walk up to you on the street and bop you upside the head, something else comes next, probably involving police officers. What I do now informs what comes next. How do we communicate, and what do we want to bring to the world around us, and what do we want to experience coming back to us? And that is largely influenced by what we present. For example, I've told this story before. I was in Santa Cruz, California, in a coffee shop. You know you're in a coffee shop in Santa Cruz, California, because there's this row of like 35 different pour-overs. pour-over stations, and you can order various combinations of coffee. It can take you 10 minutes to explain what they want, and they'll get it and do that. Anyway, that aside, there's a somewhat well-known kind of homeless, mentally ill man in the coffee shop, and he was giving the people behind the counter a really hard time. He wasn't yelling quite yet, but it was heading in that direction, and he was escalating, and they were escalating with him. So he was putting something out, and they were giving the same thing back, and they were going like this. And I looked at him, and I tapped him really lightly, and I said, "Hey, man, are you having a rough day?" And it kind of like, he looked at me like totally surprised, you know. It's like, and it kind of got the baristas out of their trance and helped get him out of his trance just by interrupting the flow of something other than right speech that was happening at the moment. A more concrete example of this, I love this story. Yeah, I've studied Carl Jung. He's my hero in the psychological world. He's the grandfather of the 12-step movement. And there's this great story of there's this old lady, she's like late 70s, early 80s, goes to Jung and says, "Everybody's always mean to me. Why is everybody always mean to me?" And Jung looks at her and says, "Why are you so mean to everybody all the time?" Right speech, what we deliver will come back. And it's also true that if you have two people here and this person escalates and you meet them, you give them the energy to do this, right? So that's unright speech, and just like escalates and escalates. But if you have two people here and this one escalates and this one stays in a zone of mindfulness and right speech, physiologically your body will only let you stay up here for so long. You have to come back down without somebody giving you the energy. So right speech is also an opportunity for conflict resolution. What we do now informs what comes next. Buddha said, "Say only what is true, speak in ways that promote harmony among people, use a tone of voice that is pleasing, kind, and gentle, and to speak mindfully in order that our speech is useful and purposeful." That's a tall order. I'm the first to admit that. Don Miguel Ruiz, in his book, The Four Agreements, the first agreement is to be impeccable with your word. I'm not going to tell you that's not challenging, and everybody struggles with that to some degree. But how we talk to ourselves about that, and how we talk to ourselves in the manner, in those moments where we don't feel like we've measured up to that, that's what's important. We all fall down, we all get up. Fall down 7 times, get up 8. Recognize you're doing the best you can. If you need to correct something, just correct it. No judgment, no shame. Right speech includes honesty, and it includes honesty with the fact that I put my foot in it. It's coming up on 10 o'clock in the morning. It's early in the day. I haven't put my foot in it yet, but I'm sure I will. So, I invite you to practice mindfully speaking kindly to yourself as a practice of right speech. And I invite you to, throughout the day, between the time we meet again, to just notice when you're being a little more harsh on yourself than might be useful. The degree to which we do that to ourselves is also the degree to which we deliver that out into the world. So, I invite you to be kind and gentle with yourself. Speak kindly of you. Thank you for your kind attention. Again, apologies to the folks on Facebook who I started the feed and pushed the wrong button and immediately cut you guys off. Life is what happens while you're busy making other plans. Comments? Questions?
Hey, Ken.
Hi.
So I always heard the right speech interpreted as "don't lie," basically.
Yeah.
But
Truth.
I think your explanation is much more detailed, which I appreciate. And I always thought of it, "don't lie to others," but in the beginning you talked a lot about how it's also "don't lie to yourself." So I think that's really helpful. I never thought of it in that way before, but I thought that was really helpful. And a question I've sometimes had is it okay to lie if you're doing it for someone else's benefit? Like if you're lying about an opinion you have about something, for example. So, someone says, "Do you like my new haircut?" and you think it's awful, but you say, "Oh yeah, it's great," Or if someone says, "Do you like this paper I wrote?" and you read it and you think it's terrible, but you say, "Oh, it's good. Yeah, you did a great job." It's you're doing it to spare the person's feeling, and it's just an opinion you have about something. It's not a universal truth, obviously. So, is it okay to lie in those circumstances?
That's an interesting topic to approach. In Alcoholics Anonymous, they talk about rigorous honesty. But they also talk about being compassionate at the same time. If I was going to give it, well, first off, I used to be an editor and a writing instructor, and I was known for being just, okay, this is what I see,
Yeah.
and you paid me $150 for this workshop, this is what you paid me for. How do you deliver it with kindness? I really like what you did, and here's a couple of ways you could improve it. If it was me, I would do this. Not, God, that haircut makes you look like someone smashed a pumpkin on your head. The cereal bowl haircut method. I'm glad you're happy with that. Also, it's true that if you ask for my opinion, you better want it. So I can't give you a yes or no on that other than to suggest do it with kindness and compassion, maybe with some humor. I hope that's helpful.
Thanks, Ken.
And start from...
I really enjoyed this
Yes.
talk, Ken.
I'm sorry?
I've really enjoyed this talk. This being my first time here, it was really nice. I'm sorry I had to get up a few times because of my grandmother, but
It's all good.
the self-talk you and I have talked about before, I really struggle being nice to Tammy. I don't like Tammy. And that's kind of what I took it as the truth of the moment. At this moment in time, I'm doing nothing wrong to hurt anyone. I'm doing nothing to be ashamed of. In fact, I'm doing something better myself in hopes that when you're done, I can go do for others. Is kind of what I heard you saying.
Let me ask you something. Would you be this hard on anybody else? Would you be this hard on somebody
I'm sorry?
else? Would you be this hard on somebody else in the same circumstance? Okay.
Yeah.
So part of this aspect of right speech
that.
is to offer yourself the same kindness and compassion you would offer to anyone else you know who is struggling. You are not the exception to that rule. You are not Lizzie Borden or Ted Bundy. Although there's a lot of evidence that Lizzie didn't do it. You deserve the same kindness and compassion that I've seen you offer to others. So every time you're in the place where you and I usually meet, and you say, hey, that's really good, say that to you. Oh, that's helpful. it's going to feel unnatural and weird. That's okay. It always starts out feeling unnatural and weird. It's like working out. The first time I did like curls, it's like, oh my God, but eventually I got to be okay with it, I kind of like it. It probably speaks to my own weirdness. All right. Anybody else? Okay. I turned on the
I
music.
don't know that I've ever heard or ever thought about connecting self-talk with right speech, but I think it's a brilliant concept, and I find it very helpful for me. And as someone who suffers from really negative self-talk that I've, performed on myself, I know that's going to help me as I go forward. So I'm really grateful for that talk.
Glad that works for you. One of the gifts of mindfulness, I think most people don't recognize that they're in an internal monologue most of the time. One of the gifts of mindfulness is, as we practice it, is we get better attuned to the ability of noticing when we're doing that to ourselves. And that, I think, might be the whole point. Look, you're sitting in a restaurant, and you hear two people behind you, and they are harsh. They are mean, and it's vitriolic, and you're thinking, oh my God, this is horrible. I should call the police. And you turn around and look at them. It's your mind talking to you. We do that all the time.
All the time.
All the time. So mindfulness practice helps us nurture the ability to catch it in those moments and say, oh, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to do that. I deserve better than that. When someone's being mean to you and you're thinking, oh, maybe I deserve it. No, you don't. You can catch yourself in that train of thought. That poem I read about thinking it's not like this train is going anywhere any more than the rain is going anywhere. And I'm guessing if you listen to the inner critic, it hasn't said anything new in 30 years, at least. So there's no new information there, and it's not even accurate. It's not even your voice. If you look at your conditioning, it's in someone else's handwriting. So glad that was helpful for you.
Yeah, thanks again, Karen.
Okay, gang. I'll see you next time.
Namaste.
Namaste.